Okay, it's that time again, everyone. It's Friday afternoon, 5:30 here in Sydney. I am back in the house. Time for MBX Insights, and I'm real excited today. Not only do I have an awesome speaker, a beautiful soul, a wonderful human being that I'm really getting to know. I know we're going to be close friends for a long time. We only just met recently, but we've known each other a while online. I'm going to be introducing her, but boy, there's so much has been happening for us over the last 2 weeks, last 3 weeks, last month, last year. Like everyone else, I'm sure, this is the year of transitioning. This is a year of change. This is a year where all of us are starting to think about what do we need to do? What's our next step with integrity so we can level up not only our identity, how we show up in the world, and how we serve and make a difference on the planet with our special gifts. And this is what we've been doing, guys. For the last 27 years, we've been in the field of complementary medicine, personal growth, human performance, and my mission has been to be able to help people like you, individuals, to rise up, to lead better quality lives. And if you've got a calling to come in this field of coaching and therapy and healing, well, we've got a rabbit hole for you to go down. One thing I've learned over the years, 27 years in, and I think the best way to continue to grow, the best way to continue to evolve is to have an open mind, to be the most humble person when you walk in the room, and to always be open to learn something new. And over the last 6 to 12 months, I've allowed myself to open up and learn so much, meet so many people, and I tell you, I think that's the secret to leveling up your life. And so that's why I'm excited to introduce her, this speaker, because she's world class at what she does. Before I do that though, this is our MBX Insights. We've been coming to you for the last 2 years, bringing to you all these wonderful people who are in this field of complementary medicine, personal growth, human performance, doing what they do so we can help you learn from other people, learn from their stories. What we think is most personal to us tends to be most general to other people, and it helps people to find the resilience or the light inside, and maybe is the catalyst or springboard for you to be making decisions to move forward just by listening to other people's stories. And we bring people with lots of skills to be able to share with you so you can actually improve what it is that you do. So for us, over the last 2 years with our MBX Institute, obviously the last 7 years have been the MBX College, we've decided to evolve. With the journey that I've been on, we've decided to evolve our organisation and make it even better. It's always evolution. And most of you know that we're moving the MBX Institute into the Conscious Mastery Academy. So this is the Conscious... Oh, I better get my slides organised, right? This is the Conscious Mastery Academy. As you can see in pop-up, that's the new logo. And so as we start transitioning through our new branding and with our new courses and with what it is that we do, you'll probably start to see MBX transition to the Conscious Mastery Academy. And next time we'll have this podcast, you'll probably see this page, Arthur Bablis, going live with Conscious Mastery Conversations. We might have a red background, we might have a blue background, we might even have a purple background. But today I'm going to stay with red, because red's a power colour. And when I met this person for the first time, she was wearing red. And I thought, man, that stood out. And I understand why you wear red, because that's it's getting yourself out there, getting yourself noticed. And it's also in Hawaiian Huna and energy work, it's transformation. It's bringing fire into the energy here in order for people to transform. And this person has the capability to transform people through getting them to become aware of their voice. So guys, I'm going to introduce this speaker. She's a world-class voice coach. She's a voice coach of top speakers worldwide. Scott Harris, Tony Robbins coaching. She helps them make sure they look after their voice and enunciate more correctly and look after themselves, their breath and everything else to get the message across. She's been an actor, a dancer, a speaker. Everyone knows in the industry. Everyone, let's bring the house down. Bring the house down and bring a big round of applause for Elisa James. Elisa, come on down. Everyone's going crazy for you, Elisa. We've got thousands of people. Please don't stop. You're used to that, right? You're used to all that.
Oh, yeah.
But you've been on stage, you're a performer, and you understand, and that's your journey, right? Your journey's come from, you'll talk about it anyway, but I just want to say thank you so much for being here. It's a real pleasure to be able to have a conversation with you and just have a chat. And really, this is what these these talks are, we have a chat with people that have met, people that I know are serving in their own individual way. You know, I've seen you, I've probably stalked you online a bit. You know, I've seen what you do. I've heard this lady's got this awesome voice. She can really get a message across. And I've seen you online. And when I realised that we're both going to be part of this Level Up conference 2 weeks ago in Brisbane, and you were MC, I thought, what an opportunity to get to meet you. And I'll tell you, when we met, I think for me at least, there was an instant connection. You're someone, it's like, you know when you meet your people?
Yeah.
Right? You just meet your people and bang, and sharing your story. There were similarities in the story, similar in the backgrounds. And I thought, wow, you know, first person I wanted to bring on here and have a conversation is you. Not only to share your story, because actually at the gala night, you shared a lot more about your story. That was juicy. You know, you just connected with me and with the crowd just by sharing, being vulnerable and telling us, you know, like all of us, what we go through to get to where we are today. And it's the obstacle that's in the way that becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius said the impediment becomes the way. So if you lean into the stretch, that's where you get your greatest growth. And I saw you there, not only emceeing the event, but the way you tell the story and brought other people on. I thought, man, that was brilliant. And I wanted you to come in here today so we can have a conversation. So Elisa James, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I love talking honest things. I love talking all things conscious and unconscious, and helping people become more mindful about what they're creating in their own lives. I do that personally through the journey of voice.
Love it. And how important is voice? And so as people are watching, I want them to voice up that they're here. And on Facebook or on all the social media platforms, the way you voice up is by texting. So we want to hear the keyboard go crazy. All right, we want to hear got the sound effects, so we want to hear the keyboard going crazy. Guys, let us know where you're watching from, because that's going to help get this out to people. We got a few people from the Philippines. We got some people here from Sydney. We're streaming on Facebook. We're streaming on LinkedIn. We're streaming my personal profile, my business page. We're getting you out to everyone. You know, we're getting you out to everyone to listen. So let us know where you're from. And if you've got a question from that you want to share with Elisa, let me know. I can relay that back to her, and maybe we can get into a conversation online. And if you're watching it replay, hashtag replay, because we'll be watching obviously the comments and get to you and support you. And if you've got any questions, look, this is why we do these things for all of you, to be able to help you, you know, get to your next level up your identity, what you do, who you are, and be able to rise up as a better quality human being the next day. The only person you've got to compare yourself to is a person you were yesterday. And with what you're going to learn today, I'm telling you, tomorrow you're going to be a different person. So over to you, Elisa. Let's start with, I mean, it's a broad question, right? What's the Elisa James story? I mean, tell us a bit about your background before you got into being a voice coach. And then I suppose what I also want to know is, what was a pivotal moment for you to make the decision, you know what, here's my profession? Because you were an actor and a performer, but you've become a voice coach. How did that happen? What happened in your life for you to say, this is what my calling is?
Yeah, look, absolutely. When I was very, very little, I knew straight away from the youngest age, maybe about 4, that I really had this inkling to be a performer of some sort. My dream was to be an actor primarily, and a singer. I actually wanted to be with Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and all that in the MGM musicals, like Singing in the Rain. That was my dream, but I was born a few decades too late. That was my dream, to be up on the silver screen and doing the singing and the dancing and the Gene Kelly and all that sort of romantic, beautiful singing, dancing sort of stuff. The problem was that was my desire and my massive dream on the inside. But the truth for me was that I was completely scared out of my wits. I was the shyest little child that you would ever meet in your life. Didn't say boo to anybody and barely played with anyone except my Barbie dolls and read my books. So all of that hiding didn't really help, and it just amplified that need, that spark, that desire to express myself in some way, shape, or form. Well, finally the opportunity came when I was about 11 years old, and we saw a parade coming into town, and all those girls back in the day in the 70s, where they were twirling their batons with their little epaulets and their silver things and the sparkly stuff, and they're, you know, marching down the street. It was reminiscent of the circuses that I had seen on the MGM musicals in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, all those reruns.
Yep.
So, all the glitz and the glamour, and I wanted to be part of that. So that was my first foray into something. Actually, I was 7 when I did that. So when I was 7, I started baton twirling, which was very much strutting, twirling, acrobatics, dancing, all sorts of stuff all incorporated into that twirling thing. And at the same time, I started competition ice skating and also piano. Now, later on in my life, for about 12 years old or so, 11, 12, I also started tap, jazz, and ballet because the ice rink closed down. That's the only reason I started, is because my mom wanted to keep me busy and keep me growing out of my shell. So all of those extracurricular school activities, if you liked, really helped shape me as a person and helped me understand how to express myself on so many different levels. Full body expression with gymnastics, acrobatics, circus skills I added to my feather cap, if you like, when I was about 16. All of that sort of panned out very seamlessly over my life, until it became, when I was about 14 years old, I begged my parents for singing lessons, finally. So finally I was allowed to add singing to the bow, to the final straw of all those other things that I'd done. Well, I took to singing like a duck to water because I'd been doing dancing and acrobating and all these other things. I'd grown up with music, so it was a natural next step. Well, as it turned out, it was just an accident after how it happened. I had a really bad car accident. I was hit by a car actually twice in a row. Once when I was 14 and once when I was 15, slammed in the back, broke bones, shattered spine, all the rest of it. And so it became very difficult for me to dance and do acrobatics well after that. I could still do it, but it was painful and it caused me a lot of stress. So over time, I realized, well, singing is a much easier route than dancing and being on stage and doing all that. And then when my son came along as a little surprise when I was 18 and in drama school, taking drama very seriously.
Okay, so 18 years of age and you had your son. Wow.
My first bump to another actor, both unemployed actors at the time. It was like, it wasn't a great plan, but I was very, very keen on becoming an actor / singer at that time. But I had been doing a lot of acting from the ages of about 11. I'd done a lot of TV, film, stage plays, musicals, all sorts of things. But when I fell pregnant, that's when I had to make that decision. Was going to be much easier for me to actually make a career with a child if singing as a career instead of acting and doing all those auditions. But, along that way, the very first professional jobs that I did were with massive, amazing, beautiful people. My very first leading role was with Mel Gibson.
Wow.
In Rockdale Town Hall.
Rockdale Town Hall, just down the street from Cronulla, right? How is that?
Rockdale Town Hall. And he was I was very tranquil heart, and he was demon discontent. And so I had to sort of fight him with my magic wand the entire show. It was Mother Goose or something like that. And also Nicole Kidman was also, excuse me, in all my dancing classes and things. So I had a really good foray into everything. But along the way, it became very obvious that my fear was still holding me back. My stage fright was massively holding me back. So one of the reasons that I started going into a different trajectory later on is because I realized that the issues that I had inside my body, feeling fear, having mindset issues, blockages, all that stress and anxiety that grows in your body as a child, as a person who's very insecure, that was really in my way and sabotaging a lot of my life experiences, a lot. So by the time I'd got a record deal, I'd moved to Europe, I'd had a career for maybe 15 years or more by this stage, I realized that, this was still really niggling at me and I had to find a solution. So instead of just giving up, which was easier, I really wanted to get to the bottom of it. So I did degree after degree after degree looking for solutions to solve all those issues. I had health issues, I had body dysmorphia issues, I had nervousness, anxiety, voice issues, all sorts of stuff, and all from here down.
And look, I love what you're saying too, because that journey that you just said, how many of us, majority of the population, fall into looking to find something outside of themselves? You know, if I do that, if I get that certificate, if I'm able to acquire that and get that organized outside of me, I'll fill that hole on the inside. You know, it's just focusing on the extrinsic as opposed to the intrinsic. And,
Absolutely.
And I also love, because this is going to be a segue later on, I want to bring it up so I can remember it. You know, I love how you said, you know, you still had stage fright to get on the stage, even though you've been a performer, stage fright.
All my life.
And, you know, it's interesting because, you know, I think it was a famous singer that had a song that the world is just a stage and we all must play a part, right?
Yeah.
And when you think about it, life is everyone's stage.
Absolutely.
And stage fright, in other words, to show up in life, to stand up on the platform of life and show everyone who we are and share our gifts. So what you do, like helping people speak up with their voice, sure, it might be on stage for an extrinsic performance, but it's really a performance in life. It's how you show up in life.
That's exactly right. I've got a little plate that I bought from Holland because I lived in Europe for a very long time during my career. And the plate says, in Dutch, it says, life is not a rehearsal. This is the real thing. And it just made me really reframe my life. It's like I was living in fear all the time. And my favorite time of day, Arthur, was when I got off stage and I went, phew, I didn't die. And I realized, you know, that's not a way to live. When I realized that I was being this person on stage and then off stage, I was being very incongruent. I wasn't that Elisa James on stage. Off stage, I let people push me around. I was still nervous. I was still anxious. I'd go back into my little girly sort of atmosphere, my protective mechanism, if you like. And so even my marriage was not very good at the time. I was married to a narcissist for 25 years because he found me very young and knew I was young and impressionable and naive, and it was easy to manipulate me. So over the years, I got manipulated and pushed around and pulled and into every direction. And the only freedom that I really felt was when I went on stage. But I still had massive anxiety and stage fright. But when I did all that study, right, the degrees never changed anything. It was the personal growth that I had to go through inside every step of the way through those degrees. It felt like I was peeling the onions back, you know, the layers and layers and layers. Because the second degree was a holistic health degree, so in spirituality and health. So that was a massive shift for me and my energy. And I realized, you know, if I'm suffering from this as a professional entertainer who does this for a living and get paid for it, imagine how other people are suffering in their life too.
Yeah.
Not only performers, singers, actors who are losing their voice from all the anxiety that we create when we hold our breath from singing. You know, when we sing with too much tension or act with too much tension, it creates so much tension around our vocal process that we can't let loose. You know, we can't really fully express ourselves. We end up pushing, forcing, squeezing too much. And then you end up with massive vocal issues. You know, so I learned the hard way that pushing and forcing myself through that anxiety did not work. I had to figure out another way, and I had to make that change from the inside, starting with my mind, my mindset, my health. I had to reboot everything. Now, when I did that over many, many years, it was like a 20-year journey. I ended up coming back to Australia about 2014. And then I realized that, you know, my career probably wouldn't be as successful when I came back, because I'd been in America and Europe and had a very successful career for more than 20 years over there. I made a concerted decision when I came back that, you know what, at my age 50 plus, I want to give back now, because I've learned so much and I've had such an incredible career. I want to start focusing on other people who are holding themselves back like I used to, so they can break through their blockages to self-expression and become the person they're meant to be. Now, when I embarked on that journey for singers and actors primarily, all these speakers coming out of the woodwork and started asking me for help because I had so much experience and 2 degrees, one in voice, production, specifically a master's in voice. So then I was able to pair all of my experience, all of my holistic health training, and then all of my voice production training and help all these different people. So it opened up the whole world. And now I realized over the last 10 years that my passion is giving people their voice back.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do.
Love it. Love it, because how many people, especially over the last 3 or 4 years with what the world's gone through, have been suppressed and held back and, and feel like being forced to do certain things or been stuck in a situation, environment where they had no control. Well, really, you do. You just need to learn how to speak up. So I really love what you've been saying. One thing that's really stands out when you say you did all the personal growth, the work for yourself. My mind is, and I know you'll agree with this, when someone does that work and you become aligned, like the sound that comes out of your mouth is completely different. The frequency is completely different. And really, when you think about voice is a frequency, it's sound, and sound has healing properties. And when we look at ascending as a physical, as an emotional being, or an energetic being in the physical body, want to reascend into the spiritual body, we go on this journey, and we got the 4 liberal arts, right? The 7 liberal arts and the quadrivium. Music and sound is one of the sciences that we can master in order for us to increase our vibration. And so alignment is the key. Doing that personal growth would be the key for you to, number 1, be able to express yourself in a congruent way. Because, I mean, we've all heard people talk and we just know there's something behind what they're saying because they're not congruent, right? And that someone else talks the same words and it's completely different.
You look, absolutely. And even for me, I hear things like other people don't. It's like I see dead people. No, I hear dead voices.
Wait.
No, it's really interesting. I do switch this off because it would drive me crazy if I listened all day long to everybody and everything. But when I have a client that comes to me for the first time, I listen for missing frequencies, Arthur. Yeah. It's a very strange thing for people to understand this. But when there are missing frequencies in the voice, it tells me what's happened in that person's past. So I can figure out what's happened to cause the anxiety, the depression, the agoraphobia, that whatever it is, there's a stuckness that appears in the voice as a sound. When I hear that, and it could be slightly different for other people. So for some people, and I won't mention any names, for some very high functioning individuals that are really major speakers, they're up there and they speak for thousands of people, time in, day in, day out. Those people sometimes are so highly functioning, but they've got this missing piece inside because they couldn't satiate their needs to be accepted by their father.
Well, look, I get that, because all of us, right? All of us can push a square peg in a round hole. We can hustle, and as a high functioning human being, we can actually do what we need to do to get the result. But there's still something missing inside, and at times it comes out through the voice. I love how you've got that skill where you need this sound effect. This is one of these. I know you'd like that one, right? It's, oh my God.
I love that.
You're picking up missing pieces and then linking that to their history, what may have happened from an emotional perspective in order for them to heal. Man, this is a voice therapist, a voice healer. Oh, yeah. Not just a voice coach to be able to do a presentation. We're not here to get you to be a great TED speaker or to be a great MC. You're here to help.
I do that too.
But you're here to help them heal.
Oh, absolutely. I'm here to help them feel and to become congruent with their personal brand, their business brand, and their message. What I found is that when people try too hard, they sound a particular way. If they're not trying because they want to be hidden, then they sound a particular way. or they sound a particular way, or they ramble, or they have all these different patterns of their voice. It comes out in different ways depending on what's happened in their body. So, for instance, I've written some papers around trauma and the voice, which have been published, because when I hear somebody speaking in a certain way, and I'm not talking about the words, I'm talking about the sound. When the sound of the voice is a certain way, I can tell you unequivocally if that person has had rape or violence in their background and has been shut down very quickly because of the way that they sound. So as much as I love training my speakers at a high end, and yes, I do help them get TED Talks, do better presentations, get on camera, do their online presentations, things like that. My passion is helping people find their voice when they really don't have one. And they're the people who've had mental, physical, emotional abuse, sexual abuse. They've been shut down. They've married a narcissist like I did. You know, they've lived a life that is literally half in fear all their life. And it's colored the way that they speak on every level. The way they show up at work is not working. They're never going to get the promotion that they want. They're never going to become that leader in their organization because they don't sound like one. So you're not going to get promoted up that ladder if you don't sound like a leader. You have to change the way that you sound and present yourself to make sure that other people perceive you as the leader that you are.
Look, what I love what you're saying is if you're wanting to be a leader, now I'm conscious. I'm listening to myself talking. You're picking up everything with myself.
All right, I've got my magic hat on. I'm not.
There you go. So if you want to be a leader, sure, there's a skill set and there's tools you can learn. You can teach the people the skills and you can show them the tools to improve a presentation. But ultimately, if there's those gaps, they're not going to have that connection with the audience. If those gaps, there's going to be something missing. And you can have the best presentation, but the gap's missing with the individual and the message doesn't land. And you can have proper presentation, which is half-hearted, but the individual is in sync, the individual is congruent, and they'll get that message across. Put the two together, that's what makes world class. And,
absolutely.
And I'm just listening to you. I mean, I listened to you at the Level Up conference and I walked away and I actually became conscious of how I ramble sometimes, how I talk quickly. I say I'm passionate, but hey, what's my next level? How can I actually improve what I do? So I'm excited to actually do some work with you, right? Seriously, because that's the next level. We've got to keep our mind open to keep on learning. If we're going to be serving and want to make a difference, you've got to keep on improving. And just some of the things that you're saying here, for me, Elisa, is like, it's one of these. It's like an explosion. It's like, you know, and I'm sure people who are listening, if you're listening, guys, and you've just had like a brain explosion, aha moment, or whatever it is, just put it in the chat because it's huge. You know, the fact that the world is the stage and what holds us back is actually stepping on the stage of life to actually show our brilliance, show our gift that we were born to express ourselves in such a way. You know, the world's missing out. We're leaving so much on the table. And
absolutely. I call it living in our shadow. A lot of people just live in their shadow because they feel more comfortable there. It's a place where they can hide. They feel very comfortable and very safe. But that's not being authentic. It's not being your authentic and best self. Everybody in this world, Arthur, can be congruent and confident within their body. If you are not fully confident in yourself and you're not living to your highest and best frequency, you're not living authentically, then you're missing out. There's a whole gamut of life that's available to us when we fully live in our authentic confidence. It opens up doors like you wouldn't believe. It opens up relationships like you wouldn't believe. It's just crazy the way it all changes. My life was very, very different 20 years ago when I was going through all that stuff in Holland. It was hard. It was so hard. Nowadays, I feel so open. You know, it's like I used to be shit scared, Arthur. This is what, I got to tell you a secret. Okay. This is a great secret, a tip for introverts.
Okay.
When you become a speaker, a singer, or an actor, it's a magical ingredient to get to meet people effortlessly without you having to do anything. The very hardest thing for me as a shy, quote unquote, person was going up to people and starting a conversation. That was insanely hard for me. And that I would run a million miles to go to a party. I'd be one of those people in the corner with the cheese and a glass of wine, because I didn't know what to do with my hands, and I didn't know who to talk to, and I didn't want to talk to anybody because I just wanted to sit in the corner in my cave and then guard the cheese. it's like a cheeseaholic. But it felt safe for me to be in a corner with the wine and the cheese. And then if somebody came over to the cheese and then they'd maybe open a conversation, I'd feel a little bit more blessed that I could open the conversation with them if they came to me first. But here's the magic. When you're standing on stage and you're singing a show, or you're acting, or you're speaking, everybody knows you. So even for introverts and shy people, the second you get off the stage, people come up to you and start a conversation. It becomes the introvert's way out to gain friends and influence people, because it becomes so much easier for you to make those conversations. Yeah. Now, over the years, of course, I cured that. I'm no longer shy, and I'm one of the most sort of outgoing, bubbly people that you would meet. It doesn't mean I'm an extrovert. I am very much an introvert, but I know how to work both sides of the equation to my advantage.
Love it. Love it. And at the conference that we connected with, when you were speaking and doing your talk on voice and how you can improve your voice and to be able to get the results you want in your life, you mentioned most speakers, and we're talking about speakers because you may not be an actor, you may not be a singer, but if you're a coach or a therapist or a healer, you get in front of people and you speak. Whether you're speaking one-on-one or 1 to 2 people or 5 people, 10 people at some event, you're speaking in front of people. And really that's what we want to talk about today, public speaking. And really when you say public speaking, it's like speaking to a stranger, even just going up, speaking to a stranger. Yeah. And you said most people, when they're on stage, where does the anxiety come from? The anxiety comes from because you're thinking about yourself. That's what you said. When you stop thinking about yourself and say you're there to actually serve, you're there for them, when you take the focus more back to them, the anxiety disappears. And I think that's the same with a conversation, right? When you take the focus off you and what can I give someone, who can I be for someone else to make their day a better day, it changes.
Absolutely. That's one of the very first things that I teach is mindset. And the simple rule is it's never about you. Never. It's never about you. Public speaking, when you are a coach, especially because we're coaches here in this space, business owner, entrepreneur, we're not here for us. All speaking is public speaking, but we're not speaking for our benefit. We don't have to speak out loud for our benefit. Every word that we say is meant to connect with another human being. If you're doing that consciously with an open heart, an open mind, from soul to soul connection, you will absolutely reach that person. Yeah. To me, it's building bridges between one human being and another. But how many times, Arthur, do we spend our time or waste our time building walls?
Yeah, and I'm just, look, what's coming to me now is like a profession in the community which has a huge part in the growth of our children today is teachers. Teachers don't get to learn this stuff and to be able to work with stuff, to become more aligned, to actually share the message. Imagine if teachers developed this skill. What would a classroom be like?
Yeah, absolutely.
What would the experience be of the kids in that classroom?
Yep. If they could be more authentic and more confident in themselves, they could absolutely reach those little children a little bit more effectively. But I teach a lot of speakers, I teach a lot of teachers as well. They've come into my fold for various reasons. There's usually 2 main reasons. One is because they're losing their voice because they teach all day and they don't know how to maintain and care for their instrument. The second one is that they've taught for a very long time, and so they're very comfortable in a class of children. However, when they're asked to step up and teach to teachers or speak to the adults, or the parents, they freak out because suddenly their issue is not feeling good enough, not feeling coherent enough, or not being experienced enough, or whatever it is. They'll tell themselves all this nonsense and rubbish that just because they teach children means that they can't speak to adults. It all starts up here. So we've really got to fix the mindset and the belief system first, because everybody who comes to me, Arthur, it's incredible. They'll come to me with this wash list of all the things that they don't like about their voice. Yeah. When I really go deep dive, yes, I can teach you every voice skill under the sun to become an actor, a singer, a speaker, an MC, a voiceover character, whatever you want to. But if you don't do the work because you don't believe in yourself, you're never going to implement the skills that I teach. Never. Yeah. It all starts with the mindset. We have to get our mindset and our belief system right, and then the voice will take care of itself. You just learn a few skills along the way, and that will make you into a good and conscious, mindful speaker.
Again, I love what you're saying, because you're saying mindset. Your psychology is number one, right? I mean, it's like an 80-20 rule. We know it's Pareto's principle. Like 80% of your success is going to come from not only your mindset, your heart set, and your alignment as a human being. Yep. The other 20% is a skill set. And yet you go to so many of these training programs, or people, there's coaches in there who say, like, we've got some skills to be able to help you develop a business and crack your 6 figures or 7 figures. And all they're giving you is 80-90% skill set and only working 10% on the mindset, not really getting you clear on being able to be aligned with your message. And so that's, I think, where there's a big gap in today's industry. But look, we're here. We labeled this talk, we've gone 35 minutes, so we can go another 35 minutes if we want to. We're getting all these people leaving us messages here. We said 7 tips on how to overcome the fear of public speaking. And public speaking, suppose, like you said, going up to a stranger and saying hi, or getting up in front of an audience. Most people, well, we've heard the Jerry Seinfeld joke, right? Okay, so where the joke where he said, like, he was asked most people fear public speaking more than dying. So if you ever got asked to say a eulogy at a friend's at a friend who passed away, you're saying, I'd rather be in the casket than actually do the eulogy. Right, that's his joke.
Yeah, and you know what, I met in a Scott Harris event, actually. I was his voice coach for a very long time. I was sitting in the audience with another gentleman who was doing an exercise with us around the table, and he found out that I was a public speaking coach, and we started chatting. He was from the army. He'd been in Afghanistan. He'd been shot at. He'd had shrapnel in his leg. He saw his friends die. This is heavy stuff that we're talking about. And yet he was more afraid of standing on that stage and speaking with Scott than he was to go back to Afghanistan and get shot up again. It was like, seriously? And he said, yes, seriously. That's how bad it was. He felt more comfortable in that scenario than being on stage. It's because we feel exposed.
Yeah.
When somebody has a fear of public speaking, it's going to translate to a fear of singing, and vice versa. And the whole thing is, Arthur, they're afraid of being seen and heard. When somebody's afraid of being seen and heard, they're living in their shadow, 100%. There's something going on that's holding them back. They have to heal that and peel back those layers to step into who they really are. Because you're right, we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we're moving up that frequency ladder. Eventually, when we learn enough, we'll pass through and go somewhere else and keep learning. But we have to learn in this lifetime. What's the point of getting to the rocking chair at 80 and sitting on your porch and going, I could have done this, and I wish I would have done that, and here are the 10 things that I never did. It's like that movie Up.
Yeah, that's right.
All those regrets left on the table. What's the point?
Yeah. Okay, so let's give you a 10-minute countdown. The 7 tips. So given someone who works on their mindset, works on their hearts, and does the work required to heal and become aligned, well, then what are the tips they could use that would work effectively for them to overcome the fear of public speaking? So what are some things that you can give people as a takeaway on how they can improve getting the message out in front of people?
Yeah, look, there's heaps of things that I could go through, but I've chosen the 7 tips from my book. It's on Amazon, and it's called The 7 Deadly Sins of Public Speaking and How to Avoid Them. Now, I have that on Amazon, but I've also got a really very useful giveaway that I'll tell you about at the end,
Awesome.
which is the best way to actually start and get some 5 tips around voice. The book on Amazon, The 7 Deadly Tips of Public Speaking, is generalized tips that will help speakers, singers, or actors. It's applicable across every field. So number 1 is the impression. We can only have one chance to make a first impression. And it's all about how you look and how you sound. So when you come on to do that speech, regardless of whether it's on camera, whether it's off camera, whether it's on stage in the boardroom, whatever, the way you walk in and hold yourself, the way you wear your clothes, it doesn't matter how expensive your clothes are, whether they're, $1,000 suit or, a $50 something from the thrift store. I'm a big thrift shopper here, but I don't have to always look dodgy thrift. I can always look neat thrift too. So, it's how you show up and make that first impression to your audience, because you can't have a do-over. If somebody is distracted because you're wearing, massive sparkly earrings and they're jangling on your microphone, well, you've already lost the audience because they're so mesmerized by the noise and the banging that they can't hear what you're saying anyway.
Yeah.
It's like if you walk on stage like this, shoulders hunched over, gasping for breath, that's not going to leave a great impression either. And people are going to remember you for that. It's very hard to change that first impression after the fact. So make sure that when you turn up fully engaged and ready to be 100% present and give your all to the task. Everything comes into that mindful task, second by second. Don't switch off. Number 2 is all about preparation. Now, this sounds very common sense, but here's the thing. I do so many presentations for so many different types of audiences. For example, when we were doing the Level Up conference, I knew my audience were business owners. I knew it was going to be a small stage, and I knew the scenario and what they want to learn, because we had all discussed that in advance. So when I knew my audience, I knew that I could put the content together that would serve that audience. And I knew what questions I could ask to actually get that engagement immediately. Whereas if I'm doing a big, like I do Magic Moments sometimes, which is a really big event that happens every year in Sydney at the Collaroy Centre or something. It's like a big Tony Robbins event for children in leadership from the ages of 12 to 17. They have a massive event, a massive stage, and 1,000 kids in the audience. I changed my presentation, of course, to suit the kids, and made it more upbeat and made it more casual, and added more fun stuff in, and added questions that would spark their interest. So when we actually prepare, we know we're not going to bomb with the audience, because we've thought about what is it that they need. It's not about you, remember, it's about what they need.
Impression, preparation. Number 3. I'm taking notes.
And yes, the number 3 is the 30-second rule. Now, this is something that a lot of people do wrong. And it's purely because they haven't had any experience with public speaking, or maybe had no training. When people come on and just introduce themselves, it's the worst thing that you can do for any introduction. The most effective way to open any speech, is to hook them in immediately with something like a wow statement, a statistic, or a question that they're going to say yes to. So that's your usual hook. Now, I love the chapter in the book where I actually go through this. Is a little story about Jamie Oliver, the beautiful chef that I love, because I love the way he speaks. It's really cute. It's like, I'm a voice coach. I love people's voices. It's one of my things. It's my jam. And he's got a little lisp, if you notice. He's got a little lisp, and I love it. Nothing's very cute. Anyway, he's just adorable. But when he came on to do his TED Talk, he didn't say the normal, hi, I'm Jamie Oliver, whatever. He actually walked on with his little microphone and said, in the next 14 minutes, about 56 people are going to die because of the food that they put in their mouth. That's a wow statement.
Yeah.
It also adds a statistic in there. So he didn't waste any airtime. If you're on a video also, or a short, you have to grab their attention within 3 seconds. You don't even have 30 seconds. When we're on stage, we have 15 to 30 seconds for people to sort of warm to us. So if you can bring that content in immediately and don't waste time, people will really warm to you very, very quickly because you've grabbed them straight away. You've grabbed their attention. So that's called the 30-second rule.
30-second rule. Okay.
Number 4 is hypnotizing your audience, which many people do. I teach a lot of corporate speakers and presenters who have the most incredible slideshows. Oh my God, with the graphs, and there's a million pieces of text on every slide, and it's so detailed, and it's written by the head honchos of the organization and blah, blah, blah. And they bring it to me and I go, how the heck are you going to present all that information and be the star of the show at the same time? It's not possible. So we really have to think of how can we make that presentation come to life through you, your voice, and your personality. If you just deliver what's on the slides in a boring, monotone way with graphs and numbers and all that sort of stuff, you will never hit the mark and people won't remember a thing that you said. They will remember if you make it lively, if you make it interesting, if you make them laugh, if you engage them, if you look them in the eye, they will remember that. So doesn't matter what your content is. It can be the most boring content in the world, but if you think it's boring, guess what? It's going to be boring. That's my dog going off. If you're delivering it in a boring way, that's your fault. Bad on you. If you're delivering content that you deem as boring, but you make it interesting, well, guess what? Everybody's going to be interested. Because you've brought your highest and best self to that table and not allowed your information to become boring. It's completely up to us.
I get that. When I was learning anatomy and physiology, that's such a dry subject at college, right? And uni, such a dry subject. But there was one of the trainers, his name was Gavin Griffith. I don't know whether he's listening, but when was the last time I mentioned his name? But I still remember him because he made it so fun. He made it, people laughed, he connected, and he made such a boring subject for learning the body, the insides, so fun. Right?
Yeah.
And that's it. That's what you just said.
Absolutely.
He hypnotized us by his antics.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember one of my instructors when I was at the conservatorium learning voice, and he was a lecturer in voice, but it wasn't particularly about voice. This was about creativity and music or something. It was a strange, he was breaking glass and playing piano at the same time. It was very bizarre. And he was trying to make this into art. Yeah. Anyway, the way he spoke was like, it was like Mr. Bean. And I was sitting right in the front with my pen and paper in hand, and I was really trying to listen and understand every word he said. I literally had so much trouble listening to half of what he said because of his mumble and lack of projection. It was the most boring subject ever, and I probably didn't pass it very well, but because I don't remember it. Yep. I didn't learn anything. I literally didn't learn anything because of the way he was teaching it. So do not say it's boring content. That's up to you to make it interesting.
Love it. Love it. Okay, number 5.
Number 5. Now, this is a really interesting one. I've been on stage for a very long time, most of my life. And when I was becoming a speaker and transitioning from acting, singing, speaking, I always did speaking, but it became more of a thing as I got a bit older. I watched a lot of speakers, and I noticed that at times during the speech, and many times, Arthur, they would literally do this.
Oh, you disappeared.
Yeah, exactly. But they'd walk right up to the back of the room to grab a glass of water. We're looking at their ass all the way. And then they grab a glass of water and they're drinking it with their back to you like this. And then they put it back down and they come back down to the front. It's like, why would you break your content like that to take sips of water all the time? And even worse, go to the back of the room to grab the water or to the side. You don't need it. The thing is, people think that if you're drinking water on stage, it will help mitigate the nerves and the dryness that you have in your mouth when you're nervous. Bzz. Wrong. You have to hydrate up to 2 hours before you walk on stage. You have to get your water and make sure that you've got at least a liter or two of water in your body before you go on stage. That way, your brain, your body, your cells will be hydrated. You'll be able to think. You'll be able to remember your content. Your body won't feel fatigued or sleepy or tired, and your voice will be clear as a bell. People who are dehydrated actually speak a little bit like that.
Okay.
They sound a bit croaky and they get a little bit raspy in their voice. Their voice actually starts to go after a while because they're so dehydrated.
That was me after the gala night, so.
Yeah, look, when we drink alcohol, we get dehydrated very fast.
Right, yes.
So we've got to be very careful not to drink alcohol and then speak or abuse our voice, because we will lose it very, very quickly.
Right.
You know,
So
and
hydration.
I had one glass of wine at the gala and I even felt a bit dry. So I completely understand.
Okay, so we got impression, we got preparation, 30-second rule, hypnotize your audience, and we got hydration, hydrate before.
Yep. Number 6 is...
You did that a lot over the last couple of weeks. You were doing that a lot, walking up the stairs and everything.
Warming up your voice and your body is super important. If you warm up your voice, all of your voice, not just your speaking voice, but all of your voice, right into the high range, you're doing yoga for your body, just like you do stretching for your body. You do yoga for your voice to actually stretch and release the tension that can get built up over hours of speaking. So if you can stretch and release, I don't know if you can hear that because sometimes Zoom cuts out.
I got that. I've listened to that.
Okay, so when we're stretching and releasing the voice and warming it up right across the range, it behaves better. So we warm up the voice first, and then you do a whole lot of tongue twisters for articulation, because what happens when we're nervous is like our mouth goes. Right, we can't think because our brain has gone into scatterbrain because we get all nervous and rambly, and so it comes out of our mouth all nervous and rambly. So we don't articulate very well, and some people can lose their articulation and clarity. Now, I've even noticed that with really high-end trainers, that they get so excited, they speak so fast that you can barely understand everything. Yep. It's just too quick for the brain to keep up. So when we warm up, we become very mindful about the way that we use our instrument, and we can use it more effectively if we warm it up across the entire range. Nice. Warm up. And the last one? And the last one is negative self-talk. Yeah. This was something I had to learn the hard way. Oh my goodness. Yeah. When I was locked into stage fright for decades, I used to stand on the stage going, don't be stupid, don't be stupid, don't be stupid. That was my wallpaper. Like, don't be stupid, stop it, stop it, stop it, don't be stupid. You know, it's like, that didn't help, because I was, again, bringing all the focus to me and what was happening with my body. When I learned from a very experienced comedian who was on cruise ships with me at the time, I was singing on cruise ships. He was performing on cruise ships.
You on the Love Boat?
The Love Boat. No, I wasn't. Isn't that Princess Cruises? No, I wanted to be Julie. I wanted to be Julie, the cruise director on the Love Boat. But no, I had a 2-year-old. I didn't get on at the time. It was a bit tricky. I did go cruising again after, like, when my career was sort of at its end. The last 7 years of my career before I moved to America was all on cruise ships, doing cabaret and one-woman shows. It was fabulous. I loved it. But I learned the hard way that beating yourself up for your limitations is never going to help you get over your fears. You've got to look at it from a different perspective, and you've got to change your mindset and behavior first. You've got to love and appreciate yourself. So one of the very simple tips that I learned is to have a wallpaper, instead of beating myself up, a wallpaper of gratitude. Thank you so much for giving me my voice. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak. Thank you so much for giving me this beautiful audience, blah, blah, blah. This is going on in my head every time I speak. I never let that bullshit talk to me anymore, because it's gone. Love it. And when you got that in your head, you got that frequency of gratitude in your head, you got that vibration, everything else that comes to you is something that you're grateful for, because that's what you're focusing on. Love what you just said, because that's what we say. We just wrapping up an NLP training ourselves, and one of the statements we say to them, we invite you
to give up arguing for limitations or defending your limiting decisions.
Yes, I love that. Stop arguing for your limitations. I did it for years.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do that, Arthur,
Yeah.
because I'm shy.
Yeah.
I can't do that because I have stage fright.
Living
I
outside of
can't
yourself.
sing that. I can't speak. I could never speak on stage. Like, why do we say that about ourselves when it's not true?
Yeah. Elisa, look, we've gone an hour. We can go another hour. And I just want to thank you because I haven't gone this long with anyone. I'm happy to stay. But I just want to thank you because you have given so much value. Not only did we learn about your story, you know, you gave us 20 minutes of those 7 tips, so much value in terms of what we can focus on, what we can do to improve the way we communicate in front of people. Refresh, impression, never have the second chance to make a first impression. Preparation, 30-second rule, captivate your audience. Hypnotize your audience, all right? With being uniquely you, the way you present, all right? And so it's not a mundane thing. Hydrate well before, warm up your voice, the yoga of the voice, I loved it. And negative self-talk, keep that away. Have a different wallpaper, love that. Create a different wallpaper in your mind. You should trademark that, wallpaper of the mind. Wow,
Ooh,
that's pretty cool. Elisa, look, thank you so much. We've got all these comments, loving all these tips. Absolutely. You know, there was a question: what role does body language and non-verbal communication play in effective public speaking? You probably answered lots of that in your story and everything else. But guys, if you want to know more, you've seen how much value Elisa gives. Please connect with her on her Facebook, Elisa James. We'll just put all the links. I think Patricia has got all the links for you. She'll put them in all the platforms, in the Facebook and the YouTube and the LinkedIn as well, so people can reach out to you. And if
I'll
they
just
want
give you my Linktree.
Linktree, okay.
Got everything.
Okay, and if they want to reach out to you, Linktree is the best. Where would someone start? If someone wanted to start with you in terms of being able to, number one, create an awareness of what are the missing pieces, and then work on that, what's the starting point with you?
Look, the very first starting point is to go onto my website, elisajames.com, and on the homepage, there's an opt-in for a 4-video voice series, and that teaches you the first basic set of voice skills that will really get you over the hump, so you can understand a little bit more about your instrument and how that perception is either hindering or advancing your career and your life. This would be the easiest step forward. I do have another guide that I'll give you. So once I've got to teach now, so I've got a student in 3 minutes. So
okay, let's wrap up.
As soon as I've finished teaching, I'll come back onto the page and I'll put those links underneath so everybody can get access to them.
Well, we've got the links already to your website. We've got to your LinkedIn, to your Instagram. All that's already on there. Guys, please reach out to Elisa. Give her a big round of applause. She has been superb. A round of applause. There you go. This is your stage, Elisa, your stage. And look, thank you so much. Let's turn this off. I'm going to get in contact with you. I know you got to run, but I want to talk to you guys. I want to improve what I do. 27 years doing what I'm doing, and there's always room for growth. I realize there's the next level. And I think you've come into my life for specific reasons. You're going to help me get to the next level. Elisa James, thank you so much. We'll say goodbye to everyone on social media land, wherever you're watching. We'll let you go. You hang for a second so I can say goodbye to you personally. But thank you guys for watching, and make sure you catch up Elisa James in the website and connect with her and start doing some work with her. That's going to be the missing link for you to get to the next stage. So see you later, Facebook people and the